The Last Kingdom is an epic saga that covers the story of Uhtred Ragnarsson. He's a warrior that was born a Saxon but raised a Dane during a point in time where the conflict between those two groups have never been greater. Much like Vikings I cover on this show, its story is incredibly vast, with epic battles, interesting characters, politics, nuance into the history of that time, and I really enjoy it. And best of all, Season 4 is coming out April 26th, so there is no better time to start watching the show. And if you're already excited and caught up like me, then this is my breakdown of the trailer for Season 4. Let's get into it.
I've lost my home. I've lost my name. I'm no longer Uhtred of Bevernbar.
Throughout the whole series, we've had Uhtred chasing after this dream to reclaim his home of Bevernbar. With all of the war, betrayal, and ups and downs of the story so far, we've got very sidetracked from that purpose. We were reminded last season when Uhtred told Alfred in their conversation that his dream of uniting Saxons into one people, one nation, England, was no closer than Uhtred himself actually reclaiming Bevernbar. So it seems here that at least he's saying to himself and others that he's kind of given up on that dream and is focusing on things around him. Uhtred has always struggled with identity, and this is just another continuation of that.
How has it come to this?
When the kings are dead, we will sit on Alfred's throne.
Now, even though the puppet prince of the Danes, Aethelflaed, was killed last season, it doesn't mean the Danes won't have time to reform their troops, with Canute and Breda at the lead, to try and test the fresh King Edward yet again. We get this kind of gloomy narration from Alswith over top, as she very much can sense that the world has changed after Alfred's death, and she's feeling quite powerless to be able to stop it. Even the victories that Edward has with Uhtred at his side, she feels are tainted by his pagan side, as she's very zealous about making sure she has a Christian nation that is pure and holy. And as things turn darker and darker as the forces stack up against the new king, she may feel that God has abandoned her and Wessex because they backed a pagan, someone she sees as a worshipper of the devil.
We banished the Danes within our lifetime.
Well, at least this banishes our worries about there not being any cool battles this season, because there definitely will be. To start with, we could see what looks like Breda walking up some steps covered in blood, with a bunch of men behind her bringing a battering ram to bring down the doors of what could possibly be Winchester. We can also see Finan fighting with some ambushes and Mercia men riding into battle, which could be a bad thing for Wessex, because we saw how flimsy Aethelred's kind of loyalties were in the last season. So we get a couple cool shots here. The first one is this wedding that we can't see any standout characters from, but the guards around the bride here, the person I assume is the bride, appear to be wearing the green cloaks that we see on Mercian soldiers all the time. This could indicate that Aethelred is trying to remarry and is finally publicly throwing away his marriage to Aethelflaed, since all of his attempts to try and take her life have failed. Just something interesting to keep in mind. We see everyone's favourite priest, Beocca, still running around, looking very suspicious, getting involved with the politics, trying to find out what's on the up, though I do have the feeling that Beocca will have quite a large change in him this season, as he's not only lost his king, but his wife as well, and if he's not following Uhtred, it leaves him quite untethered to any real loyalty. Perhaps he'll channel this into supporting Edward, or maybe Uhtred more, but I don't really know, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I do always enjoy when he goes on more of his rage rants, so we might get a lot more of that, which could be very entertaining.
Well, all you can eat and drink.
And I've earned it.
Make your choice, boy! Accept your punishment, or allow your friends to kill each other, or to spare you the hardship of life as a lord.
We see Breda again, bringing down an axe, looking very enraged. We'll probably be seeing a lot of her kicking ass this season as well. Another shot with Aethelred, his big army behind him, and this new subordinate next to him on the horse. We're seeing these two paired up a lot in this trailer, so he could be the replacement to Earldom as his new advisor, or perhaps he's more tied into this wedding we saw and the large number of forces he seems to have, so Aethelred may have made a new alliance. And of course, we get another shot of... So we saw Edward ascend to the throne of Wessex at the end of Season 3 after his father, Alfred, sadly died. We had a bunch of foreshadowing for Edward to be a very important character in Season 3 as Alfred became more aware of his failing health. He knew he had to put all his hopes and dreams for the future of Wessex in Edward, his son. Though early on we got the strong idea he wasn't really ready or mature enough for this. He doesn't want to take on the position of king. We saw him marry without his father's permission, and we saw the rebellious teen side of him kind of dominating most of his character. But with the increasing threat from the Danes over Season 3, we finally got to see Edward step up and make decisions that only a future king could. When he placed his trust in Uhtred and showed his courage to his people by backing his plan, we saw the beginnings of what he will become in Season 4. Though the real standout moment was when he stuck his neck out again for Uhtred right at the end of Season 3, really consolidating that partnership they formed over the season and forming a real bond much like Alfred did with Uhtred in the early seasons. With a little bit of pressure from the dying wish of Alfred, that is. So this trailer is showing us that over Season 4 we'll get to see Edward become a king in his own right. With the many challenges facing Wessex, he'll have to bring out that warrior that Uhtred said he saw in him way back in the beginning of Season 3.
There's warrior inside you. We'll find him.
And it'll also be quite interesting to see how he governs as a king.
Why do you choose them? They are my people.
When we fight with one heart!
Now, quite a few times throughout this trailer, we get to see this new, interesting character with this very weird vibe. He very much seems like a leader with a lot of Danish followers. We see him fighting a bunch and yelling. And he has some kind of relationship with Uhtred. It could be interesting if he's yet another character that kind of flows in between the Saxon and Danish world, but in the way he kind of questions Uhtred's loyalties, it seems he's definitely more of a Dane himself. I really enjoy how we got this small shot of Uhtred just planting his knee right in the face of Heston. That character was played up as very villainous the entire Season 3 and we didn't get any payoff for it, so hopefully Season 4 we get to see him go down. From the situation we have in the background with Finan laughing and no one really caring about the fight, it seems like Heston's not in a very strong position, especially when he doesn't have a weapon at all. Another character we only see briefly but is quite important is this shot we got of Uhtred's uncle way back in Bethenburg. So him returning back onto the screen kind of puts into contrast what we heard in the beginning of the trailer about Uhtred kind of giving up on that path. It very much seems that Uhtred won't be able to escape his past, as destiny is all.
I know you will do what is right.
In Season 3, we had a really involved story with Aethelflaed, as she showed herself to be one of the most courageous and intelligent figures of the entire series. Watching her overcome the spite of her husband Aethelred, the lust of characters like Heston, and somehow even getting through the meathead that is Uhtred, she proved herself to be a real leader despite the odds. We even see her manage to turn the loyalties of Aethelred, her husband's right-hand man Alham, to her side. And now from this image, it seems he's joined the motley crew of people surrounding Uhtred as another cutthroat follower. Quick reminder, if you don't remember who half these guys were, because I didn't before rewatching Season 3, we've got Preyrig, who's pretty actually sassy.
Are you due to hump an alehouse whore, Lord?
Cedric, who's been mostly a minor character, but had some interesting scenes. Oswald has kind of been the heart of Uhtred's little crew, with a mostly unassuming role but really important impactful moments from time to time. We have seen a couple of times him not be that happy with Uhtred kind of getting closer to Edward, because he's the bastard son of Alfred, unrecognized and seen as an embarrassment to him, as Alfred is a very religious man and he's seen as the offspring of his sin. So seeing Edward have everything he could have had if he wasn't thrown aside as a bastard really rubs him the wrong way sometimes. Though he is still a really comedic part of the show.
I've got a sword. Very sharp sword. Though I'd prefer it if you surrendered.
And of course, last but not least, thankfully Finan, who's one of the more lighthearted characters of the series, is still going to be around Uhtred and part of his elite team that helps him out. If anything, it seems their bond is actually going to grow a lot closer, as Uhtred relies more on their brotherhood to kind of get him through the challenges they'll face, and the continued identity crisis we'll probably have in Season 4. Finan's always been my favourite character for Uhtred to bounce off. They both have very parallel journeys coming from noble, wealthy families, and they're both getting degraded to the bottom of society and building themselves back up. And no doubt the writers have got a bunch of really good one-liners for him this season as well.
Uhtred!
Shh, shh, shh. I told you, big man. Just rest him.
Where does it come from? This courage.
And again, we get a bunch of really awesome images of battle with lots of fighting, horses jumping through fire, traps laid in the ground and men falling into them. We see the leftover carnage of battles before walls, we see random Danes pounding their chests, very important by the way, and maybe even some night battle with some ships. And we have this woman here who I think could be in these shots as well across the trailer, so this could be that bride we saw in Mercia. It's a little bit too early to really tell who she is and what she wants, but Aethelflaed is very much the type of character that could be quite easily manipulated by someone who knows how to push his buttons. So this could be a potentially very dangerous character down the road. And then finally we get this shot of Uhtred and Aethelflaed, and a little bit more of an intimate setting, kind of showing how close they're becoming, building on some of the more sensual scenes we had in Season 3. So that's about everything I want to say about the Season 4 trailer for Last Kingdom. If you haven't seen the show yet, I highly recommend you do check it out. It is a fantastic series. Now the series is normally dumped all at once on Netflix, so I won't be covering it week by week like I normally do for shows because it's just not how it's released. But if you would like to see more of this kind of Last Kingdom content on the channel, then please consider liking the video or telling me below in the comments. I'll use that as an indicator to see how many of you actually want to see more of this content. And maybe I'll be able to work out some like character studies or some scene breakdowns of things I really enjoyed. We'll see how it works out. Thanks for watching!